Hey guys, it's Acheron Dragon, and today's video is about Acheron post-release review. As usual, in here we will just discuss the good and bad, do a very short recap about the build, and we will usually choose one topic to make it different, which is the topic in here. Is Acheron actually best DPS, but not free-to-play friendly character? Let's get started. So let's first with the positive experience or pros about Acheron. First, she is very strong DPS. At least in my test and what I using for this couple, like almost 2 weeks, it's almost around the same like Jingliu, Inhibitor Lune, the typical hyper carry that deal a lot of damage. Of course, I'm not really expert at calculate like very particular, but at least in general, it's around those level, which is already classified as a very strong DPS. Second, this is still a continuation, or at least this is still related with the previous one, which is Acheron both excel in AoE and single target, so it doesn't really matter what type of enemy, as long it doesn't really have lightning resistance, which is usually of course disadvantage Acheron. But as long it doesn't really have lightning resistance, she can just wipe out any type, even AoE or boss, she can just wipe out because her main source of damage is basically from the ultimate itself. And her ultimate, yes, in natural, it's hit everyone, so mostly for AoE. But it has like this marking that you can focus for which target. Like bosses, you can just stack every single like debuff on that one target. So Acheron is both good in AoE and single target. Third, I believe right now this is one of the best feature also from Acheron's shop, and I believe Acheron user right now still using, which is the insta-kill in overworld and even simulated universe. With this, it allows us to save a lot of time. So this is basically a very good like quality of life, so you can fast farm. So finally right now I have a lot of motivation to do simulated universe, because before like I like simulated universe, but sometimes it take you so much time and you're busy. It's so hard to kind of do that and quite take some time. But right now I just like insta-kill it, just make it a lot faster, and this is of very good quality of life, literally. And the last one, this is actually not that important, but I just want to mention, which is I found like Acheron's quite unique. The way her ultimate works is just relying on debuff, which is not relying on energy, so it feels like gives you a different type of approach. So basically, if enemy have a lot of debuff, you can just spam more than once of your ult as long you have like debuff, which yeah, it just gives you a quite unique experience. Of course, not really that important. And let's move to the negative experience or cons for the Acheron itself, which is first, she has relatively restrictive in terms of team building, or she quite limited in terms of team building, because the team that you want to build around Acheron, which is the buffer itself, because if you don't put any debuffer, Acheron will take longer time to get the ultimate back. Because if you want to get your ultimate, it's basically you need debuff. You cannot get energy, right? So without debuffer, it takes very long time. Then you have to rely on the skill. And other than that, you need nihility character, because on her kit even state that if you have 1 or even 2 nihility, you will get more damage. If you don't utilize this, your Acheron will not optimize too. So because of that, yeah, in terms of team building itself, it's not really that flexible. And second, it has already become a quiet discussion by community, which is she has relatively limited icon choices, especially for free-to-play. The one that actually can work competitively with signature, which is good at sleep well, and even then, even at R5, the damage is quite far. Although the in-term performance one is actually not bad, but that's the only one. Other else, like for the Forcer, is not really that great. At least for now, we don't talk about feature, but for right now it's limited. And then as always, when I state about the character, if the character have like a good range of like icon choices, it's usually good. It's because it gives you like feels of flexibility, easy to build. It's actually nice, especially for free to play that doesn't really have everything. That's actually a good thing that people quite underestimate. Of course, other 5-star icons still pretty good, but again, that's premium icons, right? So not all the people can have it. So yeah, that's quite unfortunate. Okay, because we already talked about Icon, let's do a short recap build about Acheron. So let's start first with the Relic and the Pioneer sets. The best one of course is 4 piece of Pioneer, because 2 piece will increase damage with the debuff enemy, which is that's matched with Acheron kit. Also 4 piece will increase crit rate, also crit damage when they have applied the debuff, which this is just match everything with Acheron. It's just very good for her. Other than if you don't have a solid 4 piece, you just make like any like 2 piece of like mix, like either the 2 piece of Pioneer, the 2 piece that have attack, let's say like Musketeer, or 2 piece with the lightning set. That's still also pretty much good for her. And for the planner set, the best one of course is Izumo, because Izumo 2 piece, they will give you attack, and also if you have the Sempet, which is what we want with Acheron, Sempet with nihility, it will give you further crit rate. Other than that, if you don't have this, because this is still a relatively new set, you can go with Inner Child Soto, because 2 piece will increase your crit rate. When your crit rate also can increase your ultimate damage, and that's still good. Other than that, another classic Space Healing Station. And for the Relic main set and the Planner, first for the fit, of course, going for speed is usually best in general, because most of the time you want Acheron to run faster, so you can trigger skill more often too. Other than that, if you play with Sparkle, then you can put attack. I'm currently playing with Sparkle, so that's why I put in attack. For the body itself, it very depends. If you need more crit rate, then go for crit rate. If you need more crit damage, then go for crit damage. It's just classic. And for the Planner Spear, it actually depends. It's either you want like attack or you want like lightning damage boost. Both of these damage is pretty much similar, but attack can be a little bit better. But in the end, it's not really that much. So just choose whatever that have a better substat. And then for the Link Robe itself, just go classic attack percentage, because even ER are not even useful for Acheron. For the subset, as usual, like other DPS's, crit damage, speed, attack percentage, and effect rate still pretty much good. And the Lycon for Acheron, it's also pretty limited. The best one is of course her signature, because this is just match everything with her kit, increase crit damage and deal more damage, something like that. Other than that, Patient is only Kafka signature, still pretty much good. Increase damage, speed still good. Also, well, Lycon still good, because increase fire damage, then the buff, which is what we need also for Acheron, so you will pretty much trigger this. So this is still pretty good. The Silver Wolf Lycon suits pretty good also. Increase damage still okay for Acheron. For the 4-star Lycon for Acheron, there's only 2 that I can recommend, which is the best one, of course, Good Night and Sleep Well. This will relatively still work pretty well with Acheron. If you can make even S5, the performance-wise is not bad. But yeah, this is the only thing that close to the signature that can competitively work and quite accessible for the player itself. But other than that, if you're really free to play, doesn't really have Good Night Sleep Well, then for Mata, no choice, you can just buy from shop. This is not really that great either, but yeah, at least it can work as a temporary. Maybe hopefully soon we will get a better Lycons. And that's about the build. Now let's move to our main course or main topic, which is it actually Acheron not free to play friendly character, and we can consider it as a expensive character in here? And I can say it's between yes and no, but I towards to no. I have my reason why, because first, what people just say like, yeah, she basically doesn't have any Lycons that good for her. Even you can use Good Night Sleep Well, it's not really that great. That's actually not really true, at least in my test. You can check my video. It's actually not bad. It's only like at the worst, like 1 turn plus difference. If you can even like doing a very efficient run, maybe the difference even not that much. Yeah, damage wise, yes, but for like performance wise, it still pretty much can clear everything like MOC, Purification. You will not have trouble at all. But also I kinda agree if you say this is expensive character, because basically the one that 4-star Lycon that's accessible for free to play only Good Night Sleep Well. And Good Night Sleep Well even only available in gacha. Let's say you have a war select and you never get any single copy, and that's pretty much quite bad. Especially if you decide to use the free to play option like Fermata. The performance wise is even like further. And yeah, you can say she can use any type of 5-star Lycons, but again, that's still expensive. Even you can say like standard like Wells Lycon. No, even people have that Lycon. Even me, I don't have it. So I quite understand if you say like this card are expensive, not really for free to play. But again, that's only for right now. How about in the future? Maybe they will release a free to play icons that actually can work well with Acheron kit itself. Because I heard they will release Lycons that they say pretty good with Acheron. I don't know even when it will launch. But if it's assuming, or we already heard rumor like that, that means that maybe in the future she will no longer become an expensive character, because already have this free-to-play Lycon and pretty much accessible. Like I can give you one example, which is Silver Wolf. She has her own like free-to-play Lycons right from event, and that's actually a very good free-to-play Lycons, and that's actually a good thing. And maybe that can happen also with Acheron. And the last thing that I want to talk, which is Acheron actually the best DPS in Honkai Star Rail? Because I heard people say like she's the strongest DPS, she deals very high damage, something like that, blah blah blah. Well, my answer is that usually this kind of question is pretty tricky, because in Honkai Star Rail it's very hard to generalize a character, because we have 3 different modes. Simulated Universe, there's some of the characters good and bad, and also Pure Fiction. Same also MOC, one of the example Himeko and Herta, very good in Pure Fiction but not in MOC, something like that. So it's very hard to generalize a character, unless you really calculate one by one very particular, which is I don't want, because it's not a very competitive games. But the thing that I'm pretty much sure about Acheron is that she is one of the best DPS, at least alongside with Jingliu type of hyper carry, something like that, if you have the right setup, of course, or right team, something like that. Because so far when I use her, yeah, I can agree her ultimate when she unleashed this power is basically relatively high damage, and I agree. Yeah, it's already quite competitive with Jingliu. At least like even like still worse than Jingliu, but it will not that much, so I can just say comparable. However, if you ask me in here, should I choose Jingliu or Acheron, man, that's become tricky for me. It's very hard for me to answer. But at least you ask me if, let's say if I'm free to play and I just care about childhood, I don't care about design or gameplay, something like that, I maybe will go towards to Jingliu. Just by a little bit. Why? Because I feel like Jingliu really win in terms of flexibility. Like you don't really need to have even like the Jingliu meta teams like the Ruan Mei and Bronya or something like that. You don't even need. You can just put maybe Tingyun, not even have Bronya. That's why when I show my Jingliu don't have even a meta team, it still works very great. But for Acheron, I don't think that will be the case. You kind of really need a well-built for nihility. You need a specific setup for her because she's quite restrictive of team building. If you cannot fit her with those specific team, I think her performance will not as great as you just put a random thing on your Jingliu. So that's why I think Jingliu win a little bit just because of this flexibility. But performance-wise, I think it's comparable. So if you still confused, should you choose Jingliu or Acheron? Because Jingliu will coming soon on the second half, right? So in here, I have couple my advice. Of course, you don't have to follow. So the first advice that I can give you, which is it actually depends on your needs. That's usually helping. Let's say you need like Ice DPS, of course you pull for Jingliu. If you need like Lightning DPS, then pull for Acheron, because this weakness from the elements still helpful for you for some of the hard content. Literally, following the weakness of the elements can help you to make it the game easier. Other than that, it also depends on your character roster that you have or what kind of character right now that you have in your account. So it depends your account progression itself. So one of the example in here, let's say like this. You have a very good investment or well-built character. Let's say your Ruan is very good, Huo is very good, and Bronya is very well built. You have like every maybe speed tuning for your Bronya, so you're very like going expert to your Bronya. Then it usually your character choice will be suitable more for Jingliu, because Jingliu usually will partner well with Ruan Mei, Huo, and Bronya, something like that. So Jingliu will get more advantage here, like your tendency, your Jingliu will perform better than your Acheron, let's say if you decide to pull. However, if you mostly have well-built nihility character or at least the buffer, let's say like Pela, Wealth, or Black Swan that you just built recently and they have a very good stat, something like that, then going for Acheron pretty much will give you more advantage than Jingliu. So something like this very depends on your account progression or what character that you have. Another thing is that depends on what kind of Lycons that you have right now. Let's say you don't have Good Night Sleep Well or another like 5-star Nihility Lycon, let's say like Silver Wolf Lycons or Wealth or Kafka or even Acheron Signature. And of course, going for Jingliu will be better because she can just put the Herta Shop Lycons up and still works great because I use it and that's still pretty much a good Lycons. Or even like depends what relic that you have or planner. Maybe you have a better substat in your eye set, then of course Jingliu will be better. If you have better substat in your pioneer, of course Acheron will be better. So something like depend your account progression. So yeah, that's pretty much just it about post-release review about Acheron. Overall, I feel like I'm satisfied with this character, although she still have come of the limitation where mostly because it only have limited range of Lycons right now, but hopefully soon it will be fixed. And other than that, she's pretty much a badass character. The insta-kill farming really a good quality of life that I really enjoy to use lately. Dealing good damage. And I really like to play Nihility and overall. I really like DOT stuff and also Nihility types too. So yeah, if you like this video, feel free to hit the subscribe button and like. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.